Black schoolboy said he'd solve what? Professors debated for decades, thought it was a joke until they laughed when he raised his hand. Not because the question was funny, but because of who asked it. In halls where theories were built, broken, and rebuilt over decades, no one expected insight from a boy who still wore a school uniform that was 2 sizes too big. History has a way of hiding its greatest minds in the most unexpected places, and this story is about one of those moments. When brilliance knocked softly, and arrogance almost drowned it out. This is not just a story about intelligence. It's about perception. About how genius is often dismissed when it doesn't come wrapped in the right accent, the right age, or the right skin. It's about a problem that had haunted professors, consumed research grants, and filled academic journals with more questions than answers. And it's about a black schoolboy who said, almost casually, that he could solve it. They thought it was a joke. What follows is the first part of a powerful, emotional, and mind-bending journey. A journey that begins in a crowded university hall and leads to a revelation no one saw coming. If you love stories about hidden genius, underdogs, and moments that change history forever, you're in the right place. Sit back. Listen closely. Because sometimes, the smallest voice in the room carries the biggest truth. The lecture hall at Ashford University was packed beyond capacity. Professors lined the walls, graduate students sat cross-legged on the floor, and a low hum of anticipation buzzed through the air. On the massive board at the front of the room was a problem known simply as the Calder hypothesis, a mathematical paradox that had resisted proof or disproof for over 40 years. Dr. Leonard Calder himself sat in the front row, old now, his hair thin and silver, his eyes still sharp with obsession. This problem had defined his career, and haunted it. "We've approached this from topology, number theory, and quantum modeling," said Professor Elaine Whitmore, tapping the board with her marker. Yet every path collapses into contradiction. A murmur of agreement spread through the hall. At the very back, near the doors, sat a boy who didn't belong. His name was Malik Johnson. He was 16. A black schoolboy from the south side of the city. He wore a public school blazer with frayed cuffs and carried a backpack patched with duct tape. Malik wasn't supposed to be here, but his mother cleaned offices at Ashford, and one night she'd come home exhausted, mentioning a problem no one can solve. Malik had asked one question: "What's the equation?" She laughed and told him it was too advanced. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, Malik sat silently, eyes fixed on the board, his pencil moving faster than his thoughts. Numbers danced where others saw chaos. Patterns emerged where others saw dead ends. When Professor Whitmore sighed and said, "Unless anyone here has a radically new approach, we may need to accept the limits of current mathematics," Malik's hand went up. At first, no one noticed. Then someone snickered. A student turned around. "Is that a kid?" The room chuckled. Professor Whitmore squinted. "Yes. Can I help you?" Malik stood slowly. His voice was calm, almost shy. "I think the hypothesis fails under nonlinear boundary conditions if you redefine the variable space." Silence. Then laughter, sharp, dismissive, cruel. Dr. Calder leaned forward. "Young man, this isn't a classroom exercise." "I know," Malik replied. "That's why it works." More laughter. A professor muttered, "This is inappropriate." Professor Whitmore hesitated. "Do you want to explain?" Malik swallowed. He turned to the board. What followed felt unreal. He didn't speak in grand words. He didn't show off. He simply explained. He redrew the core assumption of the hypothesis, rotated the framework, and introduced a substitution so simple it felt insulting, yet devastatingly effective. As he wrote, the room grew quiet. Markers dropped. Someone stood up. Dr. Calder's face drained of color. Malik stepped back. The contradiction only exists because the model assumes continuity where there is none. 30 seconds passed. Then a whisper. "Oh my God." Professor Whitmore grabbed the marker and retraced the steps. Her hands trembled. This removes the paradox." Dr. Calder stood. Slowly. "Who taught you this?" Malik shook his head. "No one." The hall erupted into noise. Questions flew. Cameras appeared. Phones recorded. But Malik felt none of it. All he felt was fear. Because he hadn't meant to embarrass anyone. He hadn't meant to expose decades of work. He just thought, the truth mattered. Security arrived, confused by the chaos. A dean pushed through the crowd. "What's going on?" Professor Whitmore turned to him, eyes wide. "This boy may have just solved the Calder hypothesis." The dean looked at Malik like he was seeing a ghost. But not everyone was impressed. From the corner, Professor Howard Blake folded his arms. "Or he got lucky." The room split in half. Believers. Doubters. And Malik? He just wanted to go home. Because he had no idea that this moment, this single raised hand, was about to change his life forever. And shake the foundations of modern mathematics. The doors of the lecture hall closed behind Malik with a heavy thud that echoed down the marble corridor. The noise inside, arguments, excitement, disbelief, was sealed away, but the weight of what had just happened pressed harder than any sound. He sat on a bench outside, hands shaking, backpack clutched between his knees. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't smiling. He was terrified. Because brilliance is one thing. But being seen is another. Inside the hall, the debate had exploded. "This is impossible," Professor Howard Blake snapped. "You don't overturn 40 years of peer-reviewed work with chalk and confidence." Dr. Calder slammed his cane against the floor. "Then prove him wrong." Professor Whitmore projected Malik's work onto the main screen. Line by line, assumption by assumption, the room watched as the contradiction collapsed like a house of cards. A young postdoc whispered, "Why didn't we see this?" Blake scoffed. "Because it's naive. Oversimplified." Whitmore turned. "Or because we were too proud to look where he did." The dean rubbed his temples. "Where is the boy?" Outside, Malik flinched as the doors opened. 2 security guards stepped out, followed by the dean. "Malik Johnson?" the dean asked. "Yes, sir," Malik said quietly, standing. "You need to come with us." His heart sank. They didn't take him to an office. They took him to a conference room filled with professors. Malik felt small. "So," the dean began, "tell us exactly how you came up with this." Malik explained. About his mother. About the equation. About how the paradox bothered him because it felt wrong. How he stopped trying to force it to work and instead asked, "What if the rules are wrong?" Dr. Calder listened, unblinking. "And you did all this alone?" he asked. "Yes, sir." Blake leaned forward. "No tutors. No advanced courses. No hidden mentor." Malik met his eyes. "I read library books. Watched lectures online. That's it." Silence. Then Dr. Calder laughed, a soft, broken sound. "For 40 years, he said, I attacked this problem head-on. And this child walked around it." Blake stood. "This is dangerous. If we validate this without exhaustive review." Whitmore cut in. "Then we do what we're supposed to do. We test it." The dean nodded slowly. "Arrange a verification panel. Immediately." Malik's eyes widened. "Panel?" "Yes," Whitmore said gently. "The best minds in the field." Malik swallowed. "I have school tomorrow." By morning, the story had leaked. Black teen shakes academia. Unsolvable problem solved by schoolboy. Genius or hoax? Cameras camped outside Malik's apartment. His mother cried when she saw her son's face on television. Malik, she whispered, holding his cheeks, what did you do? I just answered a question, he said. At school, everything changed. Teachers stared. Students whispered. Some clapped. Others mocked. Hey, professor, one boy sneered, solve my homework. Malik kept his head down. But the pressure grew. Emails flooded Ashford University. Some hailed Malik as a prodigy. Others accused the institution of staging a stunt. One message, sent anonymously, read, "Know your place." Malik deleted it. But the words stayed. The verification panel convened 3 days later. 7 professors. 2 Nobel laureates. 1 exhausted teenager. For 8 hours, Malik answered questions. They attacked edge cases. They twisted parameters. They tried to break the solution. It didn't break. At hour 6, one professor leaned back and whispered, "It's airtight." At hour 7, Blake's voice cracked. "This changes everything." At hour 8, Dr. Calder stood. "The Calder hypothesis," he said, "is false. And this young man has shown us why." No applause. Just stunned silence. Then Whitmore spoke the words that would echo across the world. "We are in the presence of a historic mind." That night, Malik sat alone in his room, staring at the ceiling. He should have been happy. Instead, he felt hollow. His phone buzzed constantly. Interview requests. Scholarship offers. Hate messages. Praise that felt too heavy to hold. He missed being invisible. The next day, Professor Blake requested a private meeting. Malik hesitated, but went. Blake didn't sit behind a desk. He stood by the window. "You embarrassed me," Blake said flatly. "I didn't mean to," Malik replied. "I know," Blake sighed. "That's what makes it worse." He turned. "I built my career on that hypothesis. I taught it. Defended it. And you. I didn't want to take anything from you," Malik said. Blake studied him. Then nodded. "That's the difference between us." He extended his hand. "Don't waste this." Malik shook it. A week later, Ashford University held a press conference. Cameras flashed. The hall was packed again, but this time, Malik stood at the front. The dean spoke. "We are proud to announce that Malik Johnson has been offered a full scholarship, mentorship, and a place in our advanced mathematics program." Applause thundered. Malik stepped forward, heart pounding. "I just want to say," he began, voice steady, "that intelligence doesn't always look how you expect. And sometimes, the answer isn't harder thinking, but different thinking." The room stood. Even Blake. Years later, textbooks would include a new section. The Johnson reframing principle. Dar. Calder would pass away peacefully, knowing his life's work had led to something greater. And Malik? He would never forget the laughter. Because it taught him something just as important as mathematics. Truth doesn't need permission. It only needs courage. If you enjoyed this powerful conclusion, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story, because you never know who needs to be reminded